Coming up, we are going to talk about top tips for first-timers visiting Universal Orlando on this week's episode of the DIS Unplugged Universal Edition. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of the DIS Unplugged Universal Edition. I'm your host, Craig Williams. Today, I'm joined alongside by my co-host, Rhino.
Hello.
Hello, and we have a very good episode for you this week. I don't know if it's actually going to be that good. We're going to hope for the best on this one. I think it's going to be at least okay if I'm really giving it the real college effort in this one. But we've been getting a lot of questions and comments lately asking for, well, what's some more advice that you can give for people who are trying out Universal for the first time, people who are considering taking some time away from a Disney vacation to give Universal a shot. What's some basic advice or guidance that we can give you? So this list is by no means exhaustive, and we probably need to do that at some point. But I wanna restate some of our top tips that I think we absolutely would believe in for anyone out there who is considering Universal Orlando and probably is going to go. Before we talk about that, I do need to remind you this is brought to you by Dreams Unlimited Travel. If you like our content, you want to support us, please consider booking your next vacation through Dreams Unlimited Travel. It costs you no extra money, and you get the world-class support of a Dreams Unlimited travel agent. And yeah, they can really help you even more than we probably will be able to through this episode. But, listen to the episode still too, or watch it. But anyways, get a free no obligation quote today at dreamsunlimitedtravel.com. Now, this list is by no means in any particular order, so I'm going to throw out I'm going to say five of the top tips that I felt like stood out to me.
One hand, five fingers. Boom,
Exactly.
boom, boom, boom,
boom. Boom, boom, boom. And the first thing I'm going to throw out in terms of a tip for a first timer, I know this one's like almost at the point where you're like, why are you even throwing this as a tip? It's not really fair, but just follow us with this one. And my first tip is, instead of just vacationing the time of year that you feel like you have to, I mean, if you're a teacher or you're in a profession where you only have certain time off, I know that restricts things, but if you have a little bit more flexibility, or if you have the potential to give yourself flexibility, truly think about the time of the year that you want to truly visit Universal Orlando, because it really changes as the seasons progress, as it goes on. Obviously we are in the season where we are ramping up talking about Halloween Horror Nights, and during the day, during the Halloween season, there's not a huge Halloween presence inside the parks. Of course, you'll still see decorations from the scare zones and stuff. It's not everything they can just put away. You get in the Halloween spirit, but at night, that's when it comes alive if you're going to Halloween Horror Nights. So it's not necessarily a bad time of the year to travel, especially if the parks are your number one thing. As soon as Halloween Horror Nights starts at Universal Studios at night, you just pop over to Islands of Adventure and hang out over there. At Christmas, both parks and all of City Walk not all of City Walk, but all of the resorts and a little bit of City Walk gets in on that holiday cheer. So if you're that type of person that really wants to be in the Christmas spirit as you're moving around, Christmas might be a good time of year. Clearly Mardi Gras, which kind of rolls in right after Christmas, brings a bunch of festivities. Well, I mean, I cannot imagine that the parade will not be back in 2022. Wow, that's weird saying the words 2022 at this point. But the Mardi Gras, Universal Mardi Gras, when it's kicking in full gear, you have the awesome parade. You have musical acts that perform on the stage and in the streets. It's a big deal. And in the past year, Universal has truly embraced food festivals and have just left these booths sitting out and transitioned from Mardi Gras to summer food to Tokyo festival, Tokyo Olympic food. There are a lot of different perks to visiting different times a year at Universal. So really, as a tip for a first timer, really consider what time of year you want to visit Universal for the first time at, because it makes a difference.
Yeah, well, especially like you said, Mardi Gras, which is interesting because what's crazy to me is in the past they've had these concert series that is always like, it's not no-name names. It's like pretty big names. Like I've seen Kelly Clarkson now at Mardi Gras twice, right? Two times. Yeah, they had her twice. I've seen Adam Lambert there, and I thought he did a phenomenal show as well. And he I believe was there twice as well. And like, so you never know who's going to be there, and that's included with park admission. So it's like pretty great deal when you think about it like that. But then, like you said, like holidays, you get the decorations and all that stuff. And these food festivals they've been doing really. I've enjoyed them pretty. A lot lately. So it's a nice like alternative if you're just a quick service person and you want to grab some stuff. Like I don't know, like it feels like things are more and more lively throughout the entirety of the year now. So it's like a little, it feels like they've always kind of got something going on.
Yep. And I mean, so for a first timer, I want to say, choose Halloween to come or choose Christmas. But then part of me too says, you know what, summer. While there are little events happening here and there, summer's just an all-around time to visit that's good. The hours are long enough at the parks that, you get into that nighttime period, and there's nothing like being in a theme park at night. It's just, it adds that extra level of magic on top of everything. And it's just, Summer is a great time to be in theme parks. Yes, they're a little bit busier, and that's added into the equation too. But it's still a solid time of the year to visit. I'd probably say Mardi Gras is number 2, because if you do line it up that you're there for one of the concerts and it's a concert you care about, I'm sorry, but that was my first shift at Universal when I worked there. I showed up for my day one of work at Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey, and instead of working in the venue that I just trained and got signed off on, I got sent to work crowd control for a Leonard Skinner concert at Universal Mardi Gras. And I mean, I grew up listening to Leonard Skinner.
Did they play Sweet Home?
Oh yeah, of course. They played all the hits and only the hits. But this was the first time I ever heard them live, and so it's like, I was listening to the concert, but meanwhile, we're trying to crowd control a bunch of massive bikers who are bigger and stronger than I am. And it got like, there were points where we're like, we need OPD to step in and help push back barriers and stuff. It was getting that crazy with it. But I saw it from that perspective. I'm like, this is freaking cool. Like, it's not like watching Davy Jones come to Epcot and everyone's sitting politely with their legs crossed at the American Gardens Theater. Like,
look what you've done to me.
Yeah. And I
did go see Davy Jones there.
Oh, so did I. I mean, I love the Monkees. I saw Davy Jones there, saw Mickey Dolenz there.
Saw David Cassidy there too.
Oh, just all the greats. And but Universal during their concerts at Mardi Gras, it's a really special time too, and their parade is so much fun. But I think we gave you enough to chew on there. Truly think about what time of year to visit, because it will make a difference. Not every time of year is as equal to the other times, and it might not be something you see if you don't celebrate Christmas. I probably would not go during the Christmas period, even if that's your only option. It's pretty Christmas heavy.
Mm-hmm.
You don't like scary things, stay away at Halloween. But you've made the decision to come. You chose the time of year you want to visit, not just do. I don't know why I said it like that, but you made that decision. The next tip I would strongly urge you to do is stay on site if you can. Preferably stay on site at one of the premier hotels if it is affordable in your price range. And I know you might balk at that and you're thinking, well, down the street at Walt Disney World, if that's what you're used to visiting, I can't afford $600 a night hotel rooms. That's the starting point for it. Why would I stay premier at hotel, their version of a deluxe hotel? Well, it's not the same price point. It's just not. It is much more affordable. Sometimes you can get rates at Universal at the premier hotels at the same level as the moderate hotels at Walt Disney World. And you know what? The premier hotels at Universal are deluxe and comfortable hotels. The Portofino Bay hotel rooms it's not my style aesthetically, but they are soft, they are cushy, they are cozy, they are great hotel rooms. And even Royal Pacific, the lowest end of the premier rooms, it's still a solid room, and it's a solid hotel with decent dining options and stuff. But the sell of the premier hotels is that you get the free Universal Express Pass in. And you know what? You want to start your first time trip off at a right way? Stay at a premier hotel, get that free Express Pass. Don't pay out of pocket for it.
Yeah.
Spend hundreds of dollars for Express Pass. Get it included in that hotel room, and you are going to at least feel less anxiety and stress about your day as you are maximizing all of your time. But yeah.
Well, and we know people, we know this is not inexpensive to go to these places, right? But I do feel like that Express Pass can really change the value of that resort, like you're saying. Like it's literally like, if you want to commit to the vacation, we used that phrase before. I feel like it's probably one of those, you're not going to do it every time you come here, but it might be great for the first time, like you said, because the Express Pass will pretty much guarantee you being able to do anything and everything that you wanted while you were here. And for that, rolled in with however many people you're in the room with, that sometimes is the price of the room. And so you're like, I don't know. That's the crazy part to me, where I was like, yeah, that's a deal. If you were even remotely thinking about it, like, plus the ability to be able to just walk back to your hotel room is really just kind of beautiful too. That's the beauty of the Universal resorts, is most of them you can get to on foot, and especially the premier ones you can. So
yep. All the premier ones you can get to on foot, or you can take complimentary water taxis to your hotels. The water taxi services Portofino Bay Hotel, Hard Rock Hotel, Royal Pacific, and Sapphire Falls. And then once you're at Sapphire Falls, you just have a 50-yard walk to get to Aventura, and then pretty much the same walk over to Cabana Bay. The only two hotels that are a little bit further are Universal's Endless Summer Resort, Dockside Inn and Suites, and Surfside Inn and Suites. And even then, they are close by with a bus ride. You can get there very quickly. And yeah, you can actually walk too. It's a busy road. It's a congested road, so just be careful. But it is possible to walk. But at the price point with hotel rooms starting at $80 a night, I mean, you have to start factoring in too then like, yeah, maybe it's worth it, even though the transportation isn't as good. But being at Universal, if you're on their main campus, one of the premier hotels, or Cabana Bay or Aventura or Sapphire Falls, you are truly in that bubble where you can get around everywhere so quickly. And it's an experience that Walt Disney World just does not offer. I mean, you can stay close to a park there, and you can walk to a couple parks. Like if you're in the Hollywood Studios area / Epcot area, that's pretty much the same as Universal, but that's all. That's only what Universal really is. And it's nice staying on site.
It reminds me of Disneyland in that aspect. Being able to just like kind of walk everywhere and just get back to the room for a couple minutes if you need a break or to change, or you forgot something or whatever. It really removes a lot of that hassle.
And while the themes of the rooms aren't always my favorite, I've never stayed in a Universal hotel room that I was like, this is just a complete dump. Yeah. I mean, the closest I've come to saying anything like truly negative or bad about a hotel room was really, I think the small room that we were put into at Dockside Inn and Suites with just two queen beds in it. But nothing wrong with the room. Just it's weird when you go to those hotels. Endless Summer.
Yeah.
The selling point of those. kind of like Cabana Bay, are the family suites that are big and spacious and wonderful.
They have
so
a picnic table in them.
Yeah, and to downgrade from a picnic table family suite to just a room with 2 beds, it gets a little bit more cramped. But that's more personal problems for us. But stay on site. Really, just take a day, stay on site. I know you're going to have to move luggage. It's going to be complicated. Make it work. I think you'll like it. And get that free express if you stay at the premier hotels. But the next tip, because now you decided to stay on site, hopefully listening to us, the next tip, don't think about any ticket to Universal without it including a park to park pass. That is an absolute necessity, because the selling point of Universal still to this day, while there are many amazing attractions in both parks, Islands of Adventure is just stacked with Spider-Man, Velocicoaster, the Incredible Hulk, but the biggest selling point that it has is the Wizarding World of Harry Potter.
Okay, yeah, I was going to say Forbidden Journey. Hello.
Yeah, Forbidden Journey, Hagrid's Magical Creatures Motorbike Adventure.
Good Lord. Wow, they really are an all-star attractions in that park.
Yeah, it completely flopped. For when I started working there.
You mean flipped?
Yeah, flip-flopped. Yeah, that's it. But when I started working there, Islands was the juggernaut. And then slowly, starting with Transformers, Universal Studios then got a little bit more aggressive with their attractions, and then they made some bad missteps with Fallon and Fast and Furious and a couple other that I just don't necessarily agree with. But then Islands has come out swinging in the past couple years, and it's been incredible. But the marquee spots, in my opinion, still, as much as I love Spider-Man and Velocicoaster, it's the Wizarding World of Harry Potter in both parks that are truly where Universal excels and exceeds. And yet, while you can do one park one day and another park the next day, there is still something magical about traveling back and forth between the 2 parks on the Hogwarts Express. It makes me sick if I sit in a seat that's too close to the window, but it's just it is the definition of magic. You leave London and King's Cross on one side and end up down in Hogsmeade on your way to Hogwarts, or vice versa. Like you cannot beat that, and you can only do it if you have the park to park pass. They won't just let you ride it one way.
I like the park to park pass because honestly, there's just going to be moments in the day where crowds can sometimes gravitate into specific areas, and you can just be like, okay, you know what? Let's go check out the other side. And I like that flow. It gives you an option, especially when it's on foot. Because if we're talking Disney, sometimes I don't think it's worth it to jump because the parks are so far apart that the process of like moving and getting into another park and then going through security again is like, you don't have to do that. At Universal, you've already gone through security. You're already in the bubble of it all. So it's all that one contained unit. So being able to just repeatedly go back and forth during the day is really no different than just walking from the front of a park to the back of the park, and then that's it. Or you can take the train, like you said. But I'm like, I don't. It just gives you that option. It gives you a little more freedom, a little less stuff to stress about. Being like, wow, I picked the one park where something was going on today, and there's a million people in here.
And I mean, we're talking 10 minutes if you're walking at a slow pace. I can make it between the 2 parks in like 3 minutes with my gargantuan legs, just striding.
Long dancer legs.
I stride like a gazelle, and I'm all about that. But yeah, it's like you walk slow, you can still make it from one park to the other in 10 minutes. And you have to just think about it from that aspect. You go to try to do a couple of the rides that you want to see, or a dining place you want to experience, and you're like, oh no, this is way too busy. I want to see what's happening in the other park. Check the app, see that wait times are a lot shorter there, and I found something. I do want green eggs and ham today. I might as well go over and try that. You're so close by, and it's not like everything's going to drastically change in the time of, okay, at Disney, I'm getting out of the park, going to transportation to then go to the next park and then get over it. No, it's none of that hassle. You are there quickly. And yeah, it's nice having that flexibility, especially on your first time where you are trying to maximize the most out of your time and really take it all in. having the option to bounce back and forth between the two parks is something you're really going to want. And I say get the 2-park pass to pass. If you want to throw in Volcano Bay too, you can. But I think of Volcano Bay more as you've done Universal, you like it now, you want to extend your time at Universal, then start considering Volcano Bay. But for a first timer, I'm not necessarily sold on Volcano Bay.
Yeah,
adding in the water park aspect of it. But that's just me. So yeah, we sold you on park to park passes. Now, my next tip is, this one's a little bit more of a stretch, but one that I think needs recommending because I was able to help my friend Brooke, our friend Brooke, I should say, with this decision. That while she was knowing that she was going to come down to Universal and started exploring the idea of tickets and that cost, and then was like, oh, well, I think I'm going to come back with my family then because I enjoyed it and I'll bring them and like it, that hopefully they'll like it too. That's when the idea popped up that I was able to help her with is, okay, well, why not consider getting an annual pass for just you, for one person? And you might be saying to yourself, well, we're a family of 5. I don't want to buy annual passes for all of us. And if we all can't have it, why would only one of us get it? Well, once you get an annual pass, you start opening yourself up to extra perks like discounts on hotel rooms, discounts on food, discounts on merchandise. And it really gets to the point where, the discounts get less as you go down with like the passes that have more of the blockout dates that aren't the higher tiers of passes. But if you look at it and like, okay, I know we're going to be there and we're going to spend a lot of money on food, a lot of money on merch, parking, et cetera, spend a lot of money. You're starting to look at the point where, yeah, maybe it's smarter to just get an annual pass for dad, and that way you can take advantage of some of the discounts. And if you know you're coming back at least twice in 1 year, it starts becoming a lot more attractive. So it seems like a crazy concept, but don't rule out an annual pass for at least one person or the entire family for the first time.
I mean, yeah, it's interesting, smart to do it at least for one, because then at least you get the one discount. But my friend Nicole does it. She gets an annual pass every year because she knows she comes down 2 times a year, at least 3 times maybe, and she, honestly, she uses it like crazy. My friend CJ did the same thing because he loved it, and he knew he was going to visit me again more than once. He's like, okay, well, he's like 3 days use, he's like, the ticket is this amount, I can get a pass for this amount, because for him it was like he knew he wanted to come back within a year, and he was like, okay, that as long as I'm back, like he bought it in October, and he's long as I'm back by October of this day, that just means next year I have to visit a week earlier so that I can still use the pass for that. And that's why I'm like, it's smart, because I think he went with like the seasonal pass, but still that worked for him because it was like he definitely got his money's worth out of it. So it's one of those like, balance that option. That's something to consider. You don't get as many discounts with it. However, if you like, I definitely want to come back within 365 days, then just come back a little bit earlier, and that's it. There you go.
You took the words right out of my mouth. Anything else that I could have really added to it? So I'd say just consider that one. And then finally, the last tip I'm going to go over here is, besides make sure you stay up to date with the DIS Unplugged Universal Edition and all resources for Universal, like that will help you plan your trips and make the best decisions. But the last tip I'm giving you is specifically about one decision in particular, and that is food choices. My tip is study every single menu and dining option at Universal and try to make the best decisions possible. We talk about a lot of dining on this show, and we always have, because it's an important part of Universal. It's one of our favorite aspects of it. There's a lot of really great food to find at Universal. There's also a lot of terrible food to find at Universal, and even blondies. Even if you have a really basic palate, and you're like, oh, I'm fine with just chicken tenders and French fries. If
there's still
be
some
my
bad
guest,
places.
Yeah, there's still bad places to find them. Like my personal opinion, if you look at a menu for a place, and you see basically this in a nutshell, but if you see cheeseburger with French fries, chicken tenders with French fries, a pasta marinara, and potentially pizza, and if you see Chinese food for some reason,
run away.
Yeah.
She tastes like cigarettes.
Turn and run away. Those are red flags, and that's specifically with quick service options at the parks. Look for the unique items. That's where you're going to find probably the best dining. And yeah, I know. Sometimes you just want a good burger when you're on vacation. You want something fast, but you want a good burger. If you really want a good burger, please take the extra time. Go eat at Tucson. Go eat at NBC Sports. There are better burgers to have. Heck, go to Jimmy Buffett's Margaritaville and get a cheeseburger in paradise. It's overpriced. It's not as good as the other places I just mentioned, but it's still better than getting the worst of the worst frozen patties that you get in the park that just are kind of an insult towards you and anyone who ever cooks or eats food at any point in time. But
they just don't get the burger right for some reason. It's weird.
No.
Specifically, it's like usually the burger is like the not great part, but
yeah, it's not. But you need to study the menus. Have a plan. Universal doesn't change their menus very often at all. So what you decide on, even if you're like looking at 6 months out, I can pretty much guarantee you whatever is on the menu right now, in 6 months, it will be available again. So start planning it out, look at everything, exhaust it all, and just try to find the best choices and listen to us when we also share our recommendations for food choices too, because we try to be brutally honest no matter what we're talking about, but food, I take that seriously because there's nothing worse than buying food at a park that you spend your hard-earned money on and then finding out it's awful and just feeling like I can't get that back and now I have to eat it. Because,
and especially because theme park food's a little pricier than the average food, so you're spending the extra money for terrible food, you know?
Yeah, it's not like buying a merchandise item that you're like, oh, I instantly regret getting that. Let me return it. I mean, yeah, you could probably fight with a manager about food and say, I did not like this. Please give me my money back. But I don't like confrontation, so that's just not in my wheelhouse. But yeah, food is very important. It's going to fuel your vacation. So make good choices and don't even necessarily rule out in terms of like City Walk. If that's what you're looking at, don't rule out, like I already mentioned, Margaritaville. Don't rule out necessarily Hard Rock or Bob Marley. Don't rule out anything that you're like, this seems a little weird. You're still going to actually find a lot of decent food at them. But of course, I'm going to speak for myself and Rhino in this case. I think we both tend to enjoy the Universal owned and operated locations just a little bit more. They're actually usually better.
I agree. Yeah. You said all the ones I like already, so.
Yeah, I know. But I mean, a big fire.
Big fire, big happy.
Big happy. That's a good way to end this episode. Go to Big Fire and get big happy. Call back. But that's the tips I have. Rhino, anything else to throw in?
Enjoy yourself. It's seriously though, like don't stress about it. You're there, have fun.
Yeah, I was gonna throw in like as one of the tips of enjoy the fact that you don't have to truly plan anything out. Just maybe if you're talking a very busy day in the parks, you're gonna want to make a reservation at a restaurant at City Walk at night, but that's not even an all the time thing. But during the day, if you have an express pass, you don't have to worry about anything. You don't have to make a strategy, a plan of attack. You don't have to worry about securing fast passes. You do have to worry a lot of times about securing a pass at Hagrid's for virtual line, but even that's doable. But I left that one off because I think all the other tips will help set you up for the road to success at Universal if you're considering it. And again, if you want extra help on top of what we just suggested here, you can always think about booking your vacation through Dreams Unlimited Travel because the travel agents that book Universal are experts at it and they will be able to make sure that you have the best vacation possible. So get a free no obligation quote today at dreamsunlimitedtravel.com. But that's going to do it for this week's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. very much. Make sure if you're watching this on YouTube, you hit the thumbs up, subscribe to UOFan, leave comments, questions, and video suggestions in the comment section below. If you're listening to this, please make sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. And if it's through Apple Podcasts, please leave a 5-star rating and review if you're enjoying the show. But thank you so much, Rhino, for having this conversation.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, and thank you to everyone out there for listening and watching. I hope you truly enjoyed it. We appreciate you, and we will see you again next week with another episode of the DIS Unplugged Universal Edition. But remember, we still haven't changed the name.